Good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Coach Patrick Precourt here. Welcome to this week's Peak Performance Mastery. Glad to be here and glad to have you here. Actually excited to dive into another challenging topic today. And I'll share something with you guys and gals. Now, I was putting this together, this presentation. I'll be honest, I would just be completely honest with you. It occurred to me that the presentation is a lot deeper than something we could do in an hour's time. So this is going to be a kind of an overarching presentation with some great takeaways, and at the same time, it's going to be an intro into a lot of the deeper topics that we're going to dive into. Right. So as you guys join in, if you could just give me a shout out, let me know you're here. First name would be cool. Where you're checking in from, that would be awesome. So through the, as we add technology to this to get this to you quicker, easier, better, faster, safer, one of the things we've realized, it does filter out a little of the data. It gives back to me, like who's actually on the call, who's listening, who's with us. So to the best that you can, I'd love you to be interactive and join in when we ask you. That would be fantastic. So this isn't just a monologue. Monologues are boring, right? You don't want to hear me just sit here and teach to you. Let's keep it going both ways, right? This is going to be, like I said, this topic is an amazing topic. But I'd love to hear from you as we go through it. Miss Rita checking in. It's awesome. Miss Lisa Anderson, right? My hometown of Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome, Lisa. Jamie checking in from Louisiana. Jay from Indiana. Steve from Oklahoma, California. Of course, Miss Rita checking in from San Diego. George, Gary from LA. Awesome, brother. Great to have you here. Miss Jackie from Frisco, Texas. Welcome. So psyched you guys are here. So the topic we're going to take on, I could have titled it Little Voice Mastery. And the reason I didn't is because that would have been plagiarizing one of my mentor's books, a gentleman named Blair Singer, who's he's a phenomenal human being, and he is one of the first mentors I ever kind of leaned into in my career. But he wrote a whole book around this topic of Little Voice Mastery and that discussion that happened between these 2 years. And I'm going to share some insights with you today on kind of what goes on there, and maybe answer some of the questions of why we sabotage ourselves so deeply. Miss Kate checking in from the Philippines. Until somebody tells me otherwise, Kate, I'm going to call you like you get the award each week for the long distance checker inner. I'm glad to have you here, Kate. Kate's got a great gift for all of you guys coming up. What Kate does is she actually takes the notes each week for us here, and then we take those back, we clean them up a little, and we're going to be sending them back out to you at the end of each week. So now, not only do you get the call, but you're also going to get professionally drafted up notes behind the call to refer back onto, or even if you miss the call, you'll still get them, so you can get a quick summary. And these should be kept, and for me, I'd be printing these off, man, put them in a 3-ring binder, let them build on each other. Pretty awesome stuff. Chris checking in. Welcome, Chris, from Brookville, Maryland. So anyways, Blair Singer was one of the first gentlemen I leaned into as a true mentor. And I'll be honest with you, I waited late in the game to rely on mentors. What I mean by that is I took the position that asking for help was weak, that it was a sign that you weren't up for the task, that you should be, bootstrapping it all yourself, right? Which was a very ignorant position of mine. And I waited till, I'll call it 6-7 years ago, was the first time I ever invested or followed and leaned into a mentor, a coach, or guidance of any way, shape, or form. And like I said, it's a hard learning lesson, but you don't sometimes these messages show up exactly when they should. So Blair was the first one. He wrote this book called Little Voice Mastery, and I'll share some of the pieces out of that. And if you want a deeper study on that one particular point, Little Voice, he's a good one to lean towards in that book. But really what we're talking about today is the self-sabotaging voice that we have in our heads. And it's not a voice, and you guys know this. This is the one that doubts us, that creates fears, that challenges, it even asks us, are we worthy enough? What? Who would ever, you wouldn't accept that crap from someone else, yet we do it to ourselves, right? That's what we're going to talk about today. There's no one more disrespectful to us than us. And it makes no sense. Well, it does once we start understanding it. So we're going to start talking about that a little. Steve checking in from Chicago. Mr. Matt Smith, welcome to the call, brother. I was waiting for you to show up. Now that Matt's here, now we can start. Excellent, man. All righty. So, as we get into this, I'll share with you guys the idea, right? That this works best when it's not just me monologuing to you. Let me get insight and feedback as we go, right? It'll be good stuff. Now, a story I shared with a bunch of you already, and I'll share with everyone today, right? You've heard this. This was 2000 and I don't know. I was 42 years old. I'm 53, so it was 11 years ago. 2008. Does that make sense? 18? I don't know. I was 42 years old, and I was sitting in a locker room, a makeshift locker room. It was 11 o'clock at night. I was getting ready for my first MMA cage fight, and a guy walked in. I didn't know who he was. Guy walked in. His name is Mikey Burnett. Leaned into me, looked me square in the eyes like this, to Pat. It's probably a little late right now, and you're not going to get this right now. But that fighter you're worried about out there, and the cage, and the audience, and all those things that are going through your head, and you questioning your readiness, your willingness, your fitness, your strategy, that fight right there, right, has nothing to do with that. It has only to do with this. And you got to win that fight before you leave this locker room. That fight is won or lost here and now, not out there. That just plays out what you got going on in here. That's what this conversation is about today. Because we keep studying and learning and seeking more knowledge and information and how to. But that's not the solution. That's an ingredient. But when we're up against a lack of progress, a lack of breaking through threshold, that's not the opponent we're fighting. The opponent's here. We will never outperform what's going on here. We can't. We'll never outperform the person we see in the mirror like we did last week, looking back at us. Remember we talked about last week? Look in the mirror. What's that person saying to you? We can't outperform that. As a matter of fact, though, we go one step further. We sabotage ourselves. We question whether or not we can succeed instead of questioning whether or not we'll ever fail. And we don't have any more evidence to support one over the other. So why the hell would we bet against ourselves? That's the question we're addressing today. So I would appreciate if we do this with a very open mind, right? You don't have to agree with everything that comes out of my mouth. Take the seeds that serve you. Take the pieces that work for you. Let the rest go. And such is life, right? That's how we grow. Julio checking in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Great to have you here, Julio. All right. So if this is the battle, right? What we have, let's accept, let's acknowledge that that's where the fight is. Okay? I can prove that, or at least get you to agree with that in this sense. Right? Do you know anyone that just does not seem that smart? And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. They don't seem to have that many resources or anything. There's nothing special about them, but everything they touch turns to gold. The answer is we all know people like that. Yet no matter what we do, sometimes we can't break through thresholds or make any progress. We're up against these brick walls, right? Or we make great progress and then bam, we stop again. Like, what the hell happened? I was on a roll, right? That validates the fact that it's not about your resources. It's not about your knowledge or experience or expertise. All of those are ingredients. Make no mistake. but none of them stop you from steady forward progress. None of them stop you from getting over the next hump. The only thing that stops us is here. I lost that first fight. I didn't lose it because I was against a better fighter. Well, I was against a better fighter that night. That's unarguable. He beat me. But it's not because on paper he's a better fighter. I was stronger, fitter, had a better strategy. Did I mention I was stronger? I was a shit ton stronger than him. And my aggressive nature was unstoppable. The problem is I had gone through such a cycle of adrenaline, up and down, up and down, up and down, worrying and stressing over this fight for the 3 hours leading up to the fight in the locker room. By the time I stepped out in that cage, I was wiped out, emotionally drained. I had nothing. Tank was empty. So I showed up empty. Like some of us show up each day. Wiped out, done, burnt out. Been there, done that, just fed up with yourself. Can't win a fight. You can't even win the day when you're like that. So that's what we're diving into today. Okay. I'm going to pull a whiteboard around here. Hopefully this will work out okay. Two quick things I want to share with you, okay? Let me just turn up my mic so that you can hear me from over here. Now, the first one, if you've been with us for a while, you're familiar with this, right? That we all have a comfort zone, right? And there's this belief that when we step outside of our comfort zone, right, that we go into this growth zone. And I think you'd all agree with me that, yeah, that makes sense, Pat. We step out of our comfort zone, trying to get the glare out of this thing. Step out of our comfort zone. This is new, different, exciting, right? So therefore, growth takes place. But hold on. This is where we start screwing it up. We screw it up early. We don't get to growth so fast, right? When we immediately step out of here into here, we go into our fear zone because it's new. And this is where doubt sets in. Doubt, lack of confidence, confusion, uncertainty, all of that exists in the fear zone. And fear zone is anything new, different, unusual, because it is new, different, and unusual. It's not known to us. So our fear of the unknown, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of judgment, all of those fears pile on. They just jump on board, right? Weigh us down like a ton of bricks. Now, if we're disciplined enough and focused enough and committed enough, we can push into this next exciting zone, right? Now, mind you, we thought we were making the big step. But no, and that's part of the problem, that we set ourselves up for failure due to poor expectations. Pat, once I step over this line, which is so damn hard right now, I'm so comfortable and I'm afraid what's going to happen, but I finally do it. We're like, oh, I'm there. No, the work is just beginning. It's just beginning. And we got to plow through this fear zone. You got to put our chin down, eyes up, ears forward, right? Eyes forward so we can see what's coming. Ears forward so we can hear it before it gets here. And chin down so we can take a punch along the way. Because we will get punched. That's part of new and different. Finally, we crawl our way into this one. It's a big one. The learning zone. That's where the work takes place. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where, you've been thinking about jiu-jitsu. You finally show up at the gym to sign up. You don't do anything yet. But you're in this new fear zone. You showed up. Oh, I got my new gym membership. Yippee-ki-yay. So you go home and you study videos and you study like the top martial artists and all that kind of shit, right? Then you show back up at the gym with all this information. Information isn't learning. Information is information. Learning is when information is transferred into knowledge, which only happens through an experience. Learning is information transferred into knowledge, which only happens through an experience, the application of the information. This is huge. This is everything you study and learn and podcast and seminar about, right? And go out and do it. That's learning, okay? That's now where things start to take place. And when we show up at the gym, we did all this study and we put on our gi and we tie our belts and we step on the mats and we engage in our first role live. Doesn't matter that we get choked off or arm barred or any of that stuff. And that's going to happen as part of learning. But that's where the learning takes place. You say, well, Pat, what about failure? Where's failure? This is where there's a billion failures. There's a billion knockdowns. There's a billion setbacks by design so that we can learn. If you ain't getting knocked down, you ain't learning. It's impossible. You don't learn from what you succeed at. You learn from what you fail at. You learn, grow, change, redeploy. Simple, easy peasy, right? And it's at that point, finally, that we now become competent, right? And we start out with a sort of core competencies here, but they are limited. Now, as we cross in here, we have a new set of core competencies. Okay? Now, truth be told, if we were to put these in some sort of space, the growth part would be like this. Tiny. Because we don't stay here long. This is when we are acknowledging the changes, the growth. But immediately, what do you think we step into right here? Immediately. As soon as we get to the new competencies, what do you think we're back into? Comfort zone. Because they're not new anymore. We've been there, done that. We've got it. We understand it. It's easy, not easy, but we get it. It's predictable. It's certain. It is who we are now. And it goes on and on and on and on. They say, all right, so what's all this have to do with anything about today? Well, it's so I can bring up the next point here. Okay. The challenge with most of us, we think somehow, some way magically, we go from this X, right, to that X without any of this. We skip all of this. And because that is our expectation, that the hard work was stepping into the fear zone, we thought that that was the hard work, that was our expectation, that when we get hit like a ton of bricks with the rest of this, the real work, we don't have what it takes to plow through. We don't have the gumption to do the real work. Then we get stuck back into that cycle. Isn't that cool how it does that? Boom. New screen. Watch this. So we're going to put a line here. Stay with me on this. Are you guys getting this? Is this making sense to you guys? And welcome, Nathan from Alberta. So far, we're good. You guys with me, right? This is where you chime in. We'll do that line. We'll do that line there. Okay, get the pen here. We'll You're going to see how this comes together, okay? I'll do this one a different color. It makes sense, sort of. Okay. So this represents frustration. Okay. You guys see where these lines are going here, right? And we'll call this one here competency. Okay. Across the bottom, this is just time playing out. And this isn't an up and across. It's just like a playing field stretching out down the field. Okay. We do not want the pain of doing the work, so we go from X to X. Well, here's the thing, Jackie. We don't even recognize the pain, the hard work. We get it set in our head that the hard work was busting out of our comfort zone. And no doubt it is, because our comfort zones trap us. That's why the world is so predisposed to mediocrity. It's so much easier to stay where we're at in this beloved comfort zone with all the other people that like staying in their comfort zone that are afraid to step outside of their comfort zone. Therefore, we hold each other down and tell each other it's the way to be. So the hardest thing is to step aside from that giant magnet and plow outside into here. But the flaw is that that's just the beginning. The work is to be done. But in our minds, that was the work. Fundamental flaw. And it's not that we're not capable of doing the work. We all are. It's that we set it up wrong. Anybody guess what that represents? That squiggly green line right there? This is competency, and this is frustration. This is the normal curve. Matt says the hardest part for me is when loved ones don't accept the changes and failures. I'll address that in 1 sec. Okay. This is where we succeed, and this is where we quit. This is the norm, okay? Because, if we flipped it over to the other side, this space from like about here, okay, all the way back to this would be our comfort zone, and this would be our fear zone, and then we'd be in our learning zone, right? This is where we quit. Somewhere in this space. Because we didn't set ourselves up for the work that was coming ahead of us. We didn't plan on the fact that the getting knocked down and getting stepped on and getting bloodied up was part of the process, not the exception. And most people, and when I say most, I'll remind you, especially if you're new to these calls, okay? I don't sit here on a preacher's pedestal preaching down. I sit here as a peer, okay, sharing with you the stuff we all deal with together. I've quit here plenty of times too. Be very, very disingenuous to say I haven't. Okay? This is where most of us quit when we quit. We don't stay in it long enough to where our competency outrides our frustration. And the part I want to share with you today, the big part, right, is how we change that. Because we are creatures of habit. Habits own us. They dictate what we do every single day. Every single client I work with, I ask the same question at the beginning of the week. What's going to make this week different? And if that answer does not have something that's altering a behavior in order to establish a new habit, then the answer ain't good. Because if we don't change a habit, nothing will change. No matter what happens out here, if we don't change a habit, nothing will change. So the question that we want to address here, you'll see how this ties back to little voice, right? Funny little story from this weekend. So my youngest, who just turned 16, is, of course, has a permit and learning how to drive a car, right? And one of our highways that leads towards our house is has a street light as it comes in through one of the towns, right? It's kind of weird, highway, street light, whatever, no big deal. And we're coming up over a ridge on a highway, and the car in front of her does not have its brake lights on. So she's going up, but she's coming in pretty hot. I'm like, Danny, what are you doing? She's like, what? I'm like, you've got to look beyond where we're at. You've got to look ahead of where we're at so that you can react and not have to, so you can respond and not just react. Okay? When you react, you're doing the only thing you can do. When you respond, it's calculated, it's intelligent. So Danny, look out in front of that car. There's a freaking red light up there and cars are stopped. Start slowing your ass down. Right? Look, remember I said at the very beginning of this call, chin down, ears forward, eyes up. Stop looking down here. You know, in the wild, a lioness can never, ever capture a gazelle. No way, no how. It's not enduring enough. It's not fast enough. It's not quick enough. You want to know when it catches it? When a gazelle makes a mistake. You want to know when the gazelle makes a mistake? When it's got its head down and didn't look forward to see the freaking log that it's about to trip over. And when that dumbass trips, that lioness pounces all over it. That's why the lioness is successful. And I think the lioness hunts the gazelle. If the gazelle's eyes are up looking forward, it doesn't make the mistake, guess what? It'll outrun the lioness all day long. Same story with my little girl driving the car. If you keep your eyes down, right, looking only at what's in front of you, guess what? You may find yourself in a panic situation stopping, and then you best hope that bastard coming up behind you is paying attention. In life, it's exactly the same. If all we see is what is right in front of us, we cannot appropriately respond to what's coming. We react to everything like bam, 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 emotionally react, automatically react, but nothing in a calculated, intentional, intelligent way. So nothing in a way that serves our mission, moving us closer every day between where we're at to where we want to go. After all, if your head's down, how do you even know when to make the right turn or what turn to make? The answer is you don't. If your goal, your outcome, your result, the thing you're headed towards is your lighthouse on the horizon, right? I use this big, mighty lighthouse, big pile of rock that does not move. It's always there. I don't care how bad your navigational skills are. If you can steer a damn boat, all you have to do is look up and point the thing at the lighthouse, and you got a pretty damn good chance of getting there. Such is life. But we get buried in the minutia of every day. And this voice keeps our head down, our ears closed. We can't see anything that's going on around us. You know, the difference, the biggest difference, the greatest difference between those who've learned how to control the self-sabotaging voices and those who have not is those who control it can see the bigger picture. And therefore, they can get out of the minutia. Therefore, they can get out of this self-sabotaging voice because they know it's a lie. They can see the big picture. Even if they're doing stuff they despise doing in the moment. Big takeaway right here. Okay? You've heard this before. I want to explain it deeper. It's not about the destination. It never was. It never will be. It's always about the journey. The challenge is we make it about the destination and forget about the damn journey. And when we can't enjoy, embrace, and get passionate and pumped up about the journey, the likeliness of us ever achieving the destination are about zero. About zero. Well, Pat, how do I enjoy journey stuff I don't even like doing? How do I enjoy that? Good question. Glad you asked it. And this is the thing that those who learn how to control this voice have figured out, right? That when we can embrace that this goal here, in this growth space, this goal I want to achieve cannot be achieved without first going through the process, then that means that the act of going through the process is moving you one step closer every single time. What if I did this? Let me see a good pen, right? What if I changed this and I drew a ladder from here to here? And every part here, every step was a rung on the ladder. But the rules of this ladder is you can't get to the second rung before you go through the first rung. You can't get to the third rung before you go through the second rung, and so forth and so on. If you knew that to be true, and that could not be more true, that is 1,000 times true over. That didn't make much sense, but you get what I'm saying. If you know that to be true, that in order to achieve this goal, this result, this outcome, this thing you so deeply desire, not need, but want and desire, that you have to climb each rung on a ladder. And each rung enables you to get to the next rung. It's a gift. Something you should be grateful for, even if you don't like the rung itself. Be grateful for it. If it wasn't there, you couldn't get to the next one. Which means you couldn't get to the next one, or the next, or the next, or the next, or the next. Means you could not get to the thing that you deeply desire. Are you still with me? Are you still getting this? Okay? When you can connect the dots between every single thing you do every single day and understand that they're directly connected to the outcome, guess what? You can embrace, you be grateful for doing the hard work. But this requires that we look past here and not to here, but in here. Recognize it for what it is. It is a direct path to get us to where we want to go. All we got to do is be able to step into it, lean into it, suck it up. Right? When you can understand that it is these challenges every day, we start negating this little voice that's going on in our head. We can embrace it. You know what? This is the way it is supposed to be. This is the shortest path. Now, is there other paths? Of course there are. There's paths that go like this. Here's one X. Here's another. We step into this uncomfortable spot. There's paths that go way out here and way out here. As soon as we get into that fear zone, discomfort zone, loss zone, judgment zone, uncertainty zone, there's other paths. But you're a smart person. Let me ask you a question. If your goal is to get here and you're currently here, would you rather go straight, the shortest path possible, or some random path left or random path right? Which one would you rather travel? Because this one here is available to you every single day. It's called distractions. And this one here is available to you every single day. It's called shiny objects. Every single day. They're there for you. Now, be honest. Be honest with yourself. How often have you or do you take an alternate path? That's a fair question. Procrastination, Matt, we've talked about in the past. It's a distraction. It's an avoidance mechanism to avoid this. Doing the hard work, getting bloodied up, getting knocked down, dealing with judgment, dealing with fear, dealing with loss, dealing with failure. So we procrastinate. Back to the other side. There's an alternative, okay? So don't, if you guys are new, and I should have started this call this way. If you're new today, first off, let me know you're new today so I can say hi to you. All right. Second off, we get a little heated in these calls. Don't ever think I'm yelling at you, right? I just get passionate about some of these conversations. So you can see the light to the other side, okay? But please, announce yourself. Love to see who's new to the call today. Wayne, very good point. Straight but difficult to ignore all distractions or shiny objects. It is. That's what requires discipline, Wayne. And discipline is it's a habit in and of itself, but it's also a tool to form habits. Kind of weird that way, right? And yeah, but when we start understanding, you know what? Let me go back one sec. Glad you brought that up, Wayne. When we get crystal clear on this goal, outcome, not the one you need, the one you deeply desire, the one you want, like you want like hell, that one. You want this thing, right? You do the little exercise where that's your point B, that's your point A, you draw a straight line between the two. And you only put items on that line that move you directly towards that outcome. And look at this, Wayne, as if this is like an address in San Diego, and this is you sitting here with me in Connecticut, and you so deeply desire to be in PB in San Diego. So that's where you're going. And you pull out a map and you create the absolute shortest path to get there. And your one objective here is to get there as fast as possible, man. That's it. You're all in. What you have to appreciate is that when distractions show up and shiny objects show up, which is just the next four-way intersection on this journey that you're traveling, you're driving across country, you come to the four-way intersection, one gets you to your destination. The other two do not. It may be a shiny object. It may be an opportunity for someone else, but not you. And your ability to decipher between the two is gold. A distraction. Yeah, there's lots of distractions when you're driving across the country. There's so many other beautiful places to see and be at, admittedly, right? But if that's your outcome and that's what you're deeply committed to, you need the discipline to appreciate that distraction's a threat, man. And if you agree to your distraction, you're creating a treason against your own mission. Take on that responsibility. Distractions don't happen to us. We got to actively make that decision and take that turn. Never did a distraction ever happen to anyone, ever. We chose them every single time. No different than we can choose moving directly towards where we want to be at. And when we take this level of responsibility, no longer can I sit there in a locker room and bitch about maybe my coach didn't have my hands wrapped in time, or part of my training before fighting wasn't ready, or any of that other crap. I own all my of our ability to respond, responsibility, ability to respond. We're in complete control of going straight. And the second we choose otherwise, oh, it's a distraction, we got to go over there, and we give up that control. Who else you think knows better than you about what you want and how you should get there? Who would you put that control in? Seriously. There ain't nobody. Glad you brought that up, Wayne. Thank you for that. Sometimes you don't realize when you're distracted. You know what? And I don't see your name on that, so I can't give you credit for that, but great comment. Sometimes you don't know when you get distracted. That's because we're lacking clarity. When we have this done, a blueprint every single day that we operate by, exact path to where we're going, you'll know the second you make a wrong turn because you had to choose it. You had to choose it because you already made a decision on which are the right turns. So to pick one that's a distraction, you had to choose it. That says get clarity and focus on each process to get to the end goal. Yes. People live in distractions every day, watching TV, drinking, work crap just because they don't know what they want. Absolutely. It's just an avoidance mechanism. But stop blaming distractions. Stop blaming the economy or the president or the wind outside or your broken car or crying baby or your shitty sleep from the night before. Stop blaming and accept that the only reason why you can't make a decision on this multiple decision-making turn that you come upon is because you have not taken the time to figure out what you want in the first place. To sort that out. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this one, but Don't go down the rabbit hole of, well, Pat, I don't know my purpose. Total different discussion. Total different discussion. You don't need to know your purpose. Everybody says, I got to know my purpose. I don't know my purpose. 53 years old, I'll be 54 in a couple months, July. I don't know my purpose. But I know I'm on a constant journey to discover it. And sitting still in a comfort zone provides zero discovery. Where the hell do you think discovery happens? Seriously. Boom. Discovery does not have in the information. Discovery does not take place in the information collection space. Discovery does not take place during study. Discovery takes place when you're applying the information, the application of information converted into knowledge. That's where discovery takes place. I don't believe we're born with a singular purpose. Matter of fact, I don't even know that it's determined until we get there. A buddy of mine, really good buddy of mine, I went to college with. He went on to OCS and then 4 years in a Marine. No, sorry. He did 4 years as a Marine, came to college with me, then went to OCS, then went in 26 years as a Navy SEAL. Oh, man, he must have been clear on his purpose. When he went into Marine, he was running from home. He didn't have any damn purpose. When he went into college, he was running from the Marines. He was done with it. In college, he says, you know what? I got a bug for this SEAL thing. Went in OCS thinking he wanted to be a SEAL, that the SEAL was the place to be for him. It wasn't until he retired from being a Navy SEAL he realized that was never his purpose. He retired as a captain after 26 years as a Navy SEAL, preceded by 4 years as a Marine, to realize that was not his purpose. His purpose was to inspire and grow children that weren't provided certain opportunities that other kids were. So he opened a camp, Camp Trident, for kids, high school kids, to introduce them to the culture of the SEALs, to give them a culture that they can grow on. But he needed the background of being a Navy SEAL, going through OCS, spending 4 years playing rugby with me in college, 4 years as a Marine. He needed all of that to prepare him. That was all of his training and learning to prepare him to be the man he is today. Now, do you think while he was a Navy SEAL, he knew his purpose? He may have thought he did, or he may not have. But the truth is, that was not his purpose. So get off the purpose thing. The key is the discovery. Now watch this. Purpose is destination. Discovery is journey. We're right back where we started the call. You starting to see how the pieces fit together here? Okay. The little voice will challenge us. The challenge is not whether or not the little voice will challenge us. The challenge is not whether or not the little voice will challenge us. The challenge is, do we knock it back down to its knees, or do we let it knock us to our knees? I want to wrap up with one more thing here, okay? Jackie says, wow, I'll be 54 July 16th. I knew I liked you. Oh, a fellow Cancer. My birthday is July 15th. Bam! Year of Greatness, 1967. Look it up. If you look up what was 1967, Google says the year of greatness. Or that could be just on my Google. Lisa says we all have multiple purposes which constantly evolve. Yeah. I don't believe the purpose determines the journey. I believe the journey determines the purpose. Completely different. Says, hey, Pat, we share the same birthday. Who is that? Who just said that? Your name's not showing up. Please do speak. Lisa says 1967 is a good year. I just beat you by a few months. 328. Yes, awesome. Awesome, awesome. One of the best cars ever produced, too. The Camaro and the Firebird, 1967. Oh, shit. Now we got to throw in the Charger, too, right? All right, fine. Pretty much every car built from 1967 to 1970 was amazingly awesome. All right. watching time. I want to be conscious of your time. Chris, awesome, brother. Happy Cancers. July 15th to you. So the question you're asking right now, all right, Pat, if there's a quit line, and there's a quit line for everyone. Here's something we have to appreciate. There's a quit line for everyone. At some point, we will all be broken. You know, everybody thinks that BUD/S, the Hell Week at Navy SEALs, is all about only those who can't be broken get through. Bullshit. Everyone is broken. And it's how they respond broken that matters. That's what they test for. Okay? Different subject. Everybody's got a quit line. At some point, and you should. I'm not going to lie. You should. At some point say, you know what? Maybe I was not made to be an NBA basketball player at 5'10". At some point, I should quit that journey. That and the fact that I can't shoot. Worth of shit. Part of the gig, right? Steve, how about, all right, let me address because this question came up. Let me address that, Steve, for you, and then I'll continue on here. The question was, how about the other voices from family and so forth? And I think there's a similar question. I don't know if it was from Matt, somebody earlier on this. Okay. Tough one. There's a number of different environments that we put ourselves in. Our environments will be one of the greatest influences on our success or failure. Make no mistake, right? For instance, if I'm trying to cut out junk food, like I love bread. Bread to me is like heaven, and everything ever made out of bread, and that looks like bread and tastes like bread and feels like bread. Heaven to me, okay? I love bread, but it's not good for my body type and my diet, right? But there's bread in my house, I'm eating that. I've proven that enough times over. I gotta, why fight with something I know to be true in me, right? So how do I protect? And I'm not worried about eating in the morning. We're weakest at the end of the day when we're drained of our emotional currents. We can't make a damn decision, nor can we stand up for ourselves. So why not create environments that support our success? How do you do that? You get all the damn bread out of your house so you can't be eating it. If you're crackers, bread, whatever falls in that department. If you're trying to quit drinking, don't have alcohol in your house. You may not drink it when you get up, but guess what? When you're weak at night, you may, because it's there. But you likely won't drive out to pick it up. You know what I'm saying? That's creating environments conducive to your sex. Now, sex, not conducive to your sex, conducive to your success. Slip. Now, people are one of the most influential environments that we put ourselves in. And family have a particular influence. Make no mistake. Yeah, so I think it was Matt who said earlier something about what about when families bitch and moan about your failures, right? Hear me out on this. It's not our job to get them to understand what we do or why we do it. As a matter of fact, it's not their responsibility to agree with us. It's not. So let's get off of the idea of having them believe in what we believe in. So it starts with us. It's funny because I see this kind of battle go on Facebook all day long. It's not that you have a difference in opinion, that this person can't get over the fact that this person doesn't believe in the same thing. So they hound them and beat them and bitch at them, right? Be okay if they say, your idea sucks and I don't buy into it or believe into it. Be okay with that. It's not our job to convince them of anything, right? On the same account, don't let them bitch slap you down to where they hinder your progress or get in your way. Don't let them be the ones when you're trying to quit bread that are stacking loaves of bread on the counter at night. Don't let them be the ones that when you're trying to quit drinking that are bringing home bottles of your favorite alcohol. Don't let them be that person. Now, those are obvious examples, but they do that emotionally and mentally to us the exact same freaking way. Every time they take that little jab, that little dig, that weakens our confidence, that knocks us down a step, that makes us feel bad about ourselves, or they take the guilt approach to try to make us feel bad about them. At some point, you have to shut the door to that emotional abuse. Cut that shit out. Now, two different families. Your immediate household and your extended family. Admittedly, two different families, okay? And I don't want to get into advising anyone on how to deal with spouses or anything like that because we each got our own way of dealing with that. Some of us do a good job. Some of us do a shitty job, right? but I'd be out of my lane to be giving people marriage advice about, your marriage. But I'll give you general advice. Now, mind you, I'll be married 28 years this summer. So we figured something out. We've gone through some bumpy roads and, got bloodied up during it. We've figured out some stuff, right? But my wife there'll be things she wants to do or I want to do that I don't buy into or she doesn't buy into, but we'll support each other in it. And that's okay. I'm okay if she thinks my idea sucks. Now, you have your immediate family, you have your extended family. Your immediate family's here, your extended family. You don't have to take their bullshit. You don't have to listen to a single word they say, okay? Be kind, be loving. I'm not saying kick them out of your life, but you can set your boundaries. Hey, listen, love you to death. Love to hang out with you. Love to have you over whenever you want to come over. My door is always open. This is my talk with my family. But don't ever bring your bullshit, drama, negative crap into my house. It's not acceptable at any level about anything. Period. Okay? My family is, my friends as well, always welcome. Our doors are always wide open up until you disrespect the rules of our household. Then I'm not kicking you out. You've kicked yourself out by choice. Starting to see the difference there? I always welcome them. I always love them. I don't excommunicate family members from my family. I don't even excommunicate friends. But I create my rules like you should. We all have our own sandbox that we're responsible for. Don't think for a second that if you let someone in that breaks your rules, that you're not responsible for their rule breaking. You are. It's your damn sandbox. Set your rules. Set your boundaries. Now, inside your family, right? And again, the most influential person would be your spouse. It's a different conversation. It genuinely is. And I don't know that that's something that I can competently address here, but you can't deal with it the same way you deal with outside the family that's outside of your walls. It's got to be dealt with differently. Matt says, if they don't support you, I assume you move on. So I see it a little differently, right? I don't see that I move on from anyone. I don't. They choose to move on or not. Here's my sandbox. We got really nice sand and some cool sand castles. And you're welcome to everything I got. But here's some very simple rules of playing in my sandbox. If you don't like the rules, right? If you're not willing to play by the rules, then you're choosing to move on. I'm not moving on from you. You see the difference there? Again, it's how I set it up. It's an easy system. But do not let people in your sandbox that come and knock down your own sandcastles, man. Look, your sandcastle sucks. I can't believe how shitty you built it. It's not even built right. Plus, it's built from the wrong era and has bad roof on it. Who are you to come in and judge my sandbox? You're an invited guest in my space. Who do you think you are to judge my sandbox and my sandcastle? If you accept their behavior, you are culpable to their behavior because you are the king and queen of your sandbox. You and no one else determines what's acceptable and unacceptable. So if there's a behavior in your sandbox that you're allowing, that's on your shoulders. Time to reset some rules. All right, a couple of things I still want to get here, okay? Get the different colored pen. To shorten this, the question you should be asking here, right, is how, if we all have a quit line, and we do. It's the last part of this presentation. I'm going to let you guys roll. It's the last part here. If we all have a quit line, and we do, and our normal trajectory, right, to succeed is beyond our quit line, what do you think the solution is? This is like one of those obvious questions. Let's alter the trajectory so that we succeed before we get to the quit line. So Lisa, I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to forget that. Steve's got to change it and move the quit line. Challenge is we don't know our quit line. We don't know our thresholds. We don't know when that is because we never wake up saying I'm going to quit. Yet one day we stop a certain action. It's like, think about it this way, right? I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that. Think about your New Year's resolution. I'm going to get fitter. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do whatever. And you start working out and you start eating healthy. No time did you one day wake up and say, you know what? I'm quitting today. Today, I'm not going to eat better any longer and I'm not going to work out any longer. I'm going to go back to my old shitty habits. That never happens. What happens is, oh, we got busy today. We skipped it. We got a little lax. Well, every single thing we do today becomes that much easier to do tomorrow. And everything we do tomorrow becomes that much easier to do the next day. Tomorrow is just a replication of today magnified. And you see how quickly that extrapolates out. So before long, we quit, but we never chose to. So that's a threat. We don't know that, right? That's not a date. That's not a pinned up thing that we can point to, but this is, man. We can change the angle that we come at this at, right? So number one is this. We change the frequency. If you want to get someplace quicker, you do the action, the experience more frequent. You enhance it, right? You don't do it once a week. Think about this. If it took 100 workouts to lose 20 pounds, I'm just making shit totally up right now. If it took 100 workouts to lose 20 pounds and you did one workout a week, how quickly would it take to lose 20 pounds? 100 weeks. Well, what if you worked out twice a week? It would take 50 weeks. What if you worked out 4 times a week? It'd take 12 and a half weeks. So step number one to pulling this in, right? Shortening the distance, condensing the height of the ladder is to change the frequency at which we engage the experience. Remember, flip it over. Experience right there is a key part here, right? Number two is increase the level of input, impact in the experience, okay? You ever notice there's things in your life you remember very well and other things you don't remember very well? Truth is, memory is directly tied to it's written in the language of an emotion. And the deeper the emotional impact during the experience, the quicker the memory and the deeper the memory. And the quicker the memory and deeper the memory, the quicker we'll transfer the behavior into a habit. And the quicker we transfer the behavior into the habit, the shorter the distance from where we are to where we want to go. Our habits determine our results. Our habits determine our results. Habits are a function of memory, when our subconscious knows better than our mind. Memory is a function of emotion. Every memory is written in the language of an emotion. And the deeper the impact of the event, the deeper the emotion, the quicker it is to memorize in our subconscious, the quicker it is to transfer into a habit. That's why there's so much randomness in the question, how long does it take to create a habit? Some say 21 days, some say 60 days, some say 90 days, some say somewhere in between. Truthfully, a habit can happen in a moment. A habit can be created in a moment if the emotional impact is deep enough. If that experience shocked you at a deep enough level, you may forever alter your behavior. A near-death experience is a perfect example of creating a new habit, altering the one that got you that near-death experience. So number one, right, is frequency. Increase how often it happens. Number two, when you do it, when you go to the gym and have that workout, have a more intense workout, right? Don't just go through the motions. Third is time. Shorten the amount of time you allow yourself to get to the end. You know, we're all predisposed to use up space, whether it be time, space, or physical space. Think about storage in your house. Everybody always wants more storage, but no matter how much storage we have, we fill it. We're human. That's how we operate. No matter how much time you have to get something done, you take it, you fill it. We're human. That's how we operate, right? That proverbial getting ready to pack for our vacation, right? We'll wait till the last minute. So condense the time. Fourth one is control the environment. We talked about that. Create environments that are conducive to your success. ones that work in your favor. Stop wallowing in environments that don't serve you any longer. At least set up a playing field that's easy to win on. And last but not least, you want to shorten this distance. Get this side of the accountability line. Once you've got those 4 things set up, right? Accountability. Accountability is there's responsibility and accountability. Responsibility is I own it. Accountability is I'm going to make it different next time. That's why that question I ask everyone I work with at the beginning of the week that I shared with you earlier. What's going to be different this week? And that question has got to be a behavioral change. So otherwise, there will be no change. That's accountability. Without accountability, nothing changes. Accountability, in short, is the ability to influence you with the leverage of pain. Your ability to avoid pain is dramatically much greater than your ability to gain a pleasure. So I know when I need a behavioral change out of someone, a leverage of pain will get you to do that. Holding you accountable is the foundation to shortening the distance here and making sure we fall this side of success, of the quit line, right? So that we complete our ladder. Ladies and gentlemen, our time today is out. It is complete. Wow, that was a good conversation. I want to appreciate you guys for hanging in here for the full hour. Ran a little long. Apologize for that, but hopefully these concepts are starting to make sense. Like I said, when I was putting this together over the last 3 days, I realized that this is a much bigger conversation than we're ever going to get in 1 hour, right? Which is true. So we're going to start busting some of these down, breaking these things down over the next few weeks and really diving in deep. If there's anything that you guys want to talk about, anything that resonates with you or a question or answer, any of that stuff, please share them in your Facebook group. I'm with you guys all week going through this, okay? We're here for each other. So we just keep elevating. Keep elevating. I'll remind you, right? Wherever you're at, there's someone ahead of you and someone beneath you. And every single time you elevate someone up, you can't help but be on that elevator ride yourself. You guys are awesome, man. Peace.